In a world that glorifies the grind, Selah is a sacred invitation to pause. Every other week, you'll find space here to slow down, listen inward, and remember who you are beneath all the noise. Through guided reflections, soulful conversations, gentle practices, and story-led journeys, Selah, a deep pause, offers rest. Not an escape, not to repress, but as a way to come home. This podcast is for those standing at the edge of change. You know who you are. The seekers, the sensitives, the high-functioning feelers, those ready to honor the quiet and reclaim their own rhythm. So come as you are and exhale. Then exhale again and stay for the stillness. Welcome back to Selah, a deep pause. Oh my goodness, the messaging we have received about listening lately is mind-blowing. So this is what the episode's about. How to really listen, how it impacts intimacy, how it impacts the relationships with the people that are important to us. So Chris is here with me.
Hi, everyone. All right, Laura, this is going to be great. I know we've been talking about this, so I think you want to kick us off with a quote today before we get going. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Go for it.
All right. So, to really listen is to lean in softly with a willingness to be changed by what you hear. I heard that. I literally had to. I must have listened to it at least 8 or 10 times.
Yeah. Can you actually, if you don't mind, can you say it one more time?
No, not at all. I don't mind at all. No,
Can you say it one
I
more
mean,
time?
yes,
Because I
right?
need to hear it one more time.
Yes. Okay. So, to really listen is to lean in softly with a willingness to be changed by what you hear.
The willingness to be changed. I can speak for myself that sometimes where probably most of us fall short. Because I feel that a lot of times listening, most people are listening to respond.
Mm-hmm.
And already in their brain parts are thinking of the response. I've caught myself many times already having my answer ready to go while the person's still talking,
Mm-hmm.
but already having the but already have that in my head.
There was a feeling of like fear and vulnerability that rose up the first time I heard that. I'm like, wow, because it just landed so differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that one. I might have to post that on the Instagram.
Mm-hmm. I
think
love that.
yeah, I think that's, because sometimes you have to see it, hear it, see it, hear it, see it, hear it. Sometimes for these things to really sink in and go, got it. So let me ask you this question as we go into this episode. We're calling it When Hearts Shout, the Distance Between Us. So talk to me about that. Like, what does that mean? How does that come up for you?
Oh, let's do this. Let me start with this story. Because if we start talking about it, girl, we're just gonna take off, and then
there goes the plan.
There goes the whole. Not that I like a plan, but you know.
I know. But there goes. Like, what were we talking about again?
Oh, so let me read this story because this is what inspired me on this for this podcast. So let's go from there, and then I guarantee you we're going to have a lot that resonates.
Let's do it. Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right. Let me get my print for my big letters so that I can actually read it without readers.
It is on 35 font. It's fine.
Oh, okay. So a master asked his disciples, "Why do you shout when you're upset or angry? And the disciples thought for a while. One of them said, well, because we lose our calm. But why shout to a person that's right next to you? Isn't it possible for them? Isn't it possible to speak to them with a soft voice? Why do you shout at a person when you're angry? So the disciples gave him several answers, but none satisfied the master. So he finally explained, when two people are angry with each other, their hearts distance. And to cover that distance, they must shout to be able to hear each other. The angrier they are, the stronger they will shout to hear each other through that great distance. When the master asked, what happens when two people fall in love? They don't shout at each other. They talk softly. Why? It's because their hearts are very close. The distance between them is very small, and they can speak softly because they can hear and they can listen. This story alludes to the topic about listening being an ongoing practice. Like literally, this is a practice that we can never stop. When we are stressed, our hearts distance. And the more our hearts are distance, we are not able to communicate in our authentic way. This story resonated with me so much. It literally took me back to like a deeper understanding of the journey Tim and I have been on. And why, even though people didn't see us argue, we got along, it was great, the image outside was like, they're a great couple. But there was distance.
I've never heard this story before. I absolutely love it. And it feels so spot on. Like when two people are angry with each other, even though right when we are yelling, we're usually yelling. Like, why are you yelling? You're in the same room. But it's the listening, it's like you're yelling because you're feeling at the time, this person's not listening to me. This person's not listening. So I am going to keep speaking louder and louder and louder, thinking it's a volume issue. If I talk louder, they'll hear me. Rather than, I love that the hearts are further away. But when you're in love and everything's great, there's no use shouting because you're so much closer. But as soon as there's anger or hurt or, or shame or any of those things, the heart starts to almost shrink. And I'm like shrinking in my chair. The heart starts to just pull away. And it's just not there to be vulnerable. Is that what you get from that? I'd love to hear what you get from that. I love this. I've never heard this story.
Isn't it? It's just I
Yeah, it's
literally
great.
I can't tell you how many times I listened to it over and over because it was just like it's just like wow. I don't think many of us are brought up with the skill set to really notice and listen to someone. We are so operating from trying to survive and belong that it's like we're just constantly in how do I make what he said better? How do I respond when something better? And it's just and we're hearing the word, but we're not seeing the emotion, the feeling, where that person really is behind those words.
Gosh, I'd even say that we're not even hearing the words because I've found a lot of times in an argument, not even necessarily an argument, sometimes in a conversation, if you turn around and ask that person, what did I just say? the words that come out back to you are typically not, it's a complete different interpretation of what you said as it goes through that person's filter and it comes back out. It's like, that's not what I said. Like, that is not what I said. But what you heard, and when it went through your filter, came out completely differently. It's it's so interesting when you stop and you are aware of it and go, that is not it. But I agree, we have not, most people were not brought up on how do I communicate? How do I communicate to someone? How do I listen to someone? How do I hear what they have to say, or even give them the space to say it without already trying to create my response?
Oh, it feels like we can never stop learning the depth of listening. Um, because even just hearing this, it just gave me so much more clarity on when I see my relationship with them, or even when I see my relationship with all the people I care about. I feel, I can even feel it like right now in my shoulders. It's like it re- the more you are okay with you, the more you're willing to put that wall down. And I love that quote. Can you listen with that openness that what you may hear could literally change you? There's such a beautiful vulnerability about that. There's such a beautiful act of love. Oh my God, actually, I want to get emotional. It's the act of freaking love. Yeah, yeah, a beautiful act of love. Wow, it's hitting me like real hard. But yeah, yeah, it's an
Yeah.
act of love.
Yeah.
Too afraid to move through the road.
Well,
And that was
vulnerability will hold our patterns of protection, typically won't allow it, because being hurt is literally being hurt. It hurts. If someone tells us something that we don't want to hear, that could make us wrong, or show that we hurt them or something. We've built armor around that, and it literally shuts down our listening because we're trying to keep ourselves safe from our own hurt. We're trying to, we've got so much armor that just keeps us protected, quote unquote protected. So is there a time, so when we talk about this quote and we talk about you and Tim, where do you see this, or where can you reflect back and see this in your relationship?
there is a point in Tim's and I's relationship, and this was, I don't know, a little over 4 years ago, when we energetically realized how we weren't listening to each other. And the reason I can say that, and I'll elaborate more on the story here in just a sec, is I remember a moment, and it was when Tim and I had had that break of like, enough, I can't do this anymore, right?
Uh-huh.
And when we had come back together after spending some time apart, and I was talking to him and expressing my needs, I could, I literally was seeing his body shaking and reacting to my words. And there was some moments where he almost completed my sentences, like he was able to literally feel everything I was saying. And that was a first. And that was a really powerful moment for us. And what this is really resonating is like, that's like the first time that he could hear me
because it was almost telepathic. It was like, it was this weird, new, energetic connection in our field where I didn't even have to say that much anymore. He was hearing me. He was seeing me. And because he did that, it, you know how it talks about the willingness to be changed? Like the pain he felt for how he made me feel, I could see it in him. And we were having this exchange that was, we weren't even on plant medicine, but it was dropped into that frequency of like, it was to this day the biggest gift he's ever given me is to show up that way.
Yeah, I bet. Because I think there's a lot of conversation around, and there has been, I think, for the last few years of being seen, being heard. And I think I say it a lot. It was like, I just want to be heard. I just want to be seen. And I think you said it where you could feel it when you were being heard, and you could feel it as you were being seen, and you could tell that was different than, let's say, a month before, when you just feel like you're talking into the void
Because his
and both of you are
defenses,
talking at each other.
correct. Because his
Yeah.
defenses didn't go up. He didn't make my words about him. It was the most beautiful thing we've ever experienced. Well, we've experienced more beautiful things there, but it was like your first kiss, right?
Yeah.
It was like it's almost like, how did we get here? How is this happening? How is this even possible? But it is.
Yeah, because you don't know until you know. And then
Mhm.
when you hit it, you go, "Oh." That's what we've been trying to get to for so many years. And until you experience it, until let's just talk about being seen. If you eye gaze with somebody, right? Like when you do that and you had somebody seeing you, like the most uncomfortable thing you'll ever do in your life, the most, whether you're on both sides for me anyway, when someone's seeing you like that, that you go, oh, that's really what that means. And when someone hears you as well, it's like, oh, they heard me. I didn't, and you listened to me. Like you listened to everything that I said. You absorbed what I said. And you didn't come back with, already had things ready and in the chamber of, pew, pew, pew. Here's my responses to what you said, because I didn't hear any of it. That feeling it's visceral. It is,
Mhm.
and you just did it. It's an exhale. It's like a listening exhale. I love that.
It is something we need. It's such a gift that and sometimes I think people are able, well, what was when they do it, maybe I'll do it. I was like, what?
It starts
Eh,
with us. Every
yes.
single bit of this journey, every it's our journey, and it starts with us every time.
And we can offer that gift to somebody that begins a ripple. Um, but no, so now I can go a little bit more, but it's even just talking about it, just uh I feel so freaking grateful um that I've been able to experience that.
Well,
Um,
because it's not just you and Tim, right? This isn't just you and Tim. This is you and your children. This is you and people you work with. This is you and your friends. It not only does that, this amazing thing for a relationship, wherever that relationship goes, because sometimes both people don't participate, but it offers you this new opening to be with people. And be with yourself, for that matter.
A lot of the work has to start with, can we listen right here? Can we listen here? You know, because we can't offer anyone else what we're not willing to offer ourselves. Yeah.
Okay, before you even go on with that, can you elaborate on that one a little bit? Because I think that needs to be said again and again.
Yeah. Well, so for example, like I work with a lot of people in a space where we take a deep pause. Why are we taking a deep pause? Taking a deep pause from our phones, from, you know, all the things we have to do, all the noise, as we've talked about before, so that we can give ourselves the gift of listening, taking notice to what we're feeling, what we need. And so many times it seems like what people are looking for, and I'll tell you, I mean, I was guilty of it. It's like, you know, well, if Tim can't figure out what makes me happy, well, then maybe he's not meant for me. Or then maybe, you know, and what a daunting task to give somebody else. When
We don't have to
we're
put on someone else to make us happy.
when we're not even doing it for ourselves. We're not even offering ourselves that gift.
Well,
With
I believe a lot of times we don't believe that we're the ones that can do it. We put so much of our agency to someone else to make this person make me happy and this person make me, well, this person makes me sad. What am I? How do I be extremely happy with this?
Mhm.
And it's not easy.
And it starts with listening, internal listening. So when we bring people in for a weekend retreat, it's the pauses to listen within. And when we start listening within, the reason we avoid it is because there's so many things that are trying to get our attention. And it terrifies us to listen to those things because if we do, it requires change.
I want change.
Yeah.
I want change. Everybody else can change. Why do I need to change? I'm amazing.
And everybody else stinks, and that's why they make us so angry, and that's why we shout at everybody else, right?
It's their fault. They're doing
Yeah.
this. They're doing this. They're doing this. I'm going to say the victim mentality of all of these things that are occurring to me, and that I'm not doing anything wrong, and maybe not. But am I being me? Am I doing? I think what you said. Um, Am I listening to me? Am I taking a breath? Am I hearing that other person? Am I doing the things I want them to do for me? For me,
Hmm.
right?
And we're not listening to our own needs. We're not making our own real requests. Um, it's like we're afraid to give ourselves permission to really go, what do I need? What do I want?
Well, we're conditioned not to.
Hmm.
We're conditioned to say, well, what do you need? How can I help you? How can I make sure you're feeling okay? How do I do you? We are not taught, I think as you talked before, we're not taught to put ourselves in the driver's seat. Even to say put ourselves first, because that sounds selfish. That sounds like, oh, we don't do that. We can make sure everybody else is happy. And we've been doing that for years and years and years and years. And I believe we have a culture of people who are so busy making everybody else happy that we have no idea how to make ourselves happy anymore.
Yeah. Literally no
We have no idea
idea.
what we want. And you
Yeah.
end up in a conversation sometimes, especially with, people in relationship of, what do you want? What do you want? And the response to that usually is, I don't know. You really ask yourself that question. What do you want for me, and I find that's with a lot of people that I work with, is what do you want? I don't know, because I know what you want. I know what they want. I know what they need, and I know how to deal with all of their needs, everyone else's needs. I don't know what I want. And until I sat in that silence and sat in that discomfort of, what do I want? What do I feel? What do I? Until I started doing that for me, I couldn't answer the question.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And that takes me to the point of the reason Tim was able to hear me. But let me give people a little bit. So I may have, did I share about my breaking point? I don't know if I shared that about that yet. I think we were going to talk about it in a future episode about my breaking point.
Tell me the breaking point.
Okay. So the breaking point was we had started doing this work. And there had been promises made about, oh, I'm going to change or I'm going to do this. But again, remember, you even hear it in my language, putting the responsibility on Tim to change so that I didn't have to be in my own discomfort and stuff, right? And so, and we hit this point where he broke a promise again. And you were there. Uh-huh. And you know that rage, that that feeling that's inside that I had gotten so well for years to just go, let's push it down. I'm gonna go get busy with something else. I don't have to feel it, and we can.
This is fine.
Mm-hmm.
This is fine. It's fine.
I'm gonna push it down so I can just play out our pattern. This is our pattern. Let's just go into the pattern. But that day, it shattered to where I could not play the pattern. The play button was broken.
I remember you're like, nope.
Yep.
I remember Tim was walking one way and you walked another way. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh,
all right.
I haven't seen this one before. And I erupted. Like the years of rage erupted in me. And that day when I erupted and I was screaming, shouting, that's not the moment when he heard me. That's just the moment where, the foundation just came crashing down. I was not able to stand on it. And we ended up spending 9 days apart. But it was in those 9 days where I remember the first 4 days. The corner of my bed, I had a notebook and I had written down, what do I need? What do I want? So I could start listening to me. And for the first 4 days, I couldn't write a single thing down. That was a massive realization. How the hell am I? And I remember even sometimes I'd write something down and I would, oh, that's too much. And I scratch it out. And I spent those 4 days listening to my body. And what was really interesting is I had fevers. I had cold sweats. I had chills. You would think, and I knew, you would think I was like sick with the flu. But I knew I wasn't sick with the flu. I knew I was listening. But it was so much information coming through that my body couldn't regulate itself. Yeah. And so I was going through, all of the temperature changes, my body's going like, what is happening? Because it was like an overload of like, I didn't just open the spigot, like I opened the spigot, so it was probably an overload for my system. And to where Brandy would come in, she would just make sure I was eating, but then she's like, Jesus, Mom, breathe, because the foulness that was in my pores was seeping out, and isn't it wild? Like those emotions, all those things, like it is toxic in your body. And had she not been there to make me aware, I wouldn't know. But she was like, "You weak Mom." It was foul. As I was moving through, listening to my body, and then once I was able to finally start after day 4, writing stuff down, it started. Their movement started coming in, and these realizations of giving myself permission to write down, acknowledge, acknowledge what I need. And we're not willing to acknowledge. It's so uncomfortable at first to acknowledge what we need.
Yep.
And as I'm moving through these days, I'm just like, I'm writing the stuff down, but I'm also going like, how is this possible? I mean, I'm a successful woman. I thought I get what I want. Oh, shit.
The lies we tell.
It felt like it because of the acknowledgement and the praise that I got for being producer of this or doing this and achieving.
Career girls, getting it done, doing all the things, but never once listening to what you want, to be able to say, I know what I want. Well, do you?
At a soul level that awakens a deep remembrance of who you're here to be, who you can begin to embody. It's a whole other thing. And so, yeah, it's just wild. These stories never get old. So it was when I reached out to Tim and I told him I'm ready to talk. I remember the moment that he was like, I'm not ready to talk to you. That was terrifying. I was mad at him and so proud of him at the same time. Like, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's too. I was like, where does this guy come from? I'm not ready, you know? But it was when we finally came together because he was going through the same process and he was still writing down and listening to himself because he didn't want to talk to me until he really sat. It's like, is this what I want? What is it? What do I want? So he was going through the same process. So it's when we came together and started sharing. We did something where we shielded ourselves. It's like, can we hear? Can we listen? Don't take on my words as I'm blaming you. They're just my emotions. They're just things that I'm feeling. Sometimes a person takes it on thinking like, oh, she's blaming me. I was like, no. Tim at that moment was just my target because I had been hurt so much.
It's safe. And he's safe.
Exactly. It really is. And it was at that moment when I started talking because I was not shouting and I was saying things that actually were real. Like I had taken the time to listen to me. So what I was speaking, I mean, you would think what I had these sharp edges because as he was hearing me and listening to me, his whole body was reacting and he was falling and like his emotion, like he gave me the space to finish talking, but then he asked, like, how can I, he just wanted to hold me because he didn't realize all the things that I had been feeling.
That was the first time that he allowed himself to hear and absorb it rather than hearing to respond to it.
And he heard me with a willingness to change them, which it did. I have, since that moment, he's been an evolution, just changing, but like since that moment, that was the first big, it changed him. And then when we reversed roles, it changed me.
And so, what was your experience listening to Tim talk through what he wanted or how he had been feeling or what he was going through? So, how if we go in and we
Yeah.
switch chairs, I know the feeling of saying it to someone, right? What was the experience for you to listen? Because it would be a very similar thing where you could go into,
Mhm.
but. So, what was that experience for you?
I was able, I'm not going to say this up front, was able to see my part in his behavior. And when we can take responsibility for our part, not just blame. He always talked about, you don't appreciate what I do for you. You don't appreciate, you don't appreciate. I tell you, after that day, that man got flooded with appreciation. So I was able to see my part, feel my part through his words, through his actions. And that was a massive pivot point in our relationship because instead of trying to rebuild this new version of us on that old foundation, we allowed it to come crumbling down, and we started building a new one with truth, with authenticity, with no fear, with no fear of when things come up, being willing to go, hey, can I talk about this? We're no longer suppressing what we need or what we need to say, even when it's hard.
You're not putting as much weight on the outcome of the conversation
No,
rather than having the conversation.
thank you. Yes, I put. Oh man, that's actually brilliant because yes, if you are having a conversation focused on this is the outcome I need out of this conversation,
Or being worried about what the outcome's going to be, right?
correct.
It's not even that here's my agenda, or well, I don't want to
Mhm.
have this conversation because I think it's going to lead to a fight and I think it's going to lead to this and that, rather than I really want to have this conversation regardless of what
Regardless,
is on the other side of it.
yeah, it being in a state of flow and allowance. Because when we let go of that control, man, some beautiful stuff can show up.
Yeah.
And
The idea behind
opportunity, right? An opportunity versus us trying to dictate and control something.
it's like going into the conversation with, I'm coming into this conversation because it's something I want to talk about. I have an open heart about it. And here are my words. But I think, and I still do it. I was doing it today, just on having a conversation with a friend about something. I was spinning out on, well, what if she gets upset with me? What if she gets mad about, what it is I have to say, rather than, you know what? I don't have any ill intent here at all. I know she doesn't. How about I just pick up the phone and call her and start the conversation and let's see where it goes? And it was a beautiful conversation. was a beautiful conversation. It was, but I think we go in with the either I want it to go this way or how is it going to go? And we end up getting all kinds of crunchy about it. And then you end up probably not having the conversation, which leads to resentment about the fact that you couldn't have the conversation and somehow becomes their fault. And so I assume after that conversation, everything's been roses and butterflies since then.
God, we're not perfect, and nor do we expect to be anymore. There's no more expectation of, can you read my mind? You know, perfection. There is just a willingness to listen, uh, truly listen to one another so that he's free to be Tim, all of Tim, and I'm free to be all of me, even when it makes me crunchy. Can we talk? Can I listen?
And do you guys, over the years, because that was a couple years ago, over the years, do you have tools that you use or words that maybe you use when you go to have the conversation? Or also, if you noticed, because we're going to fall into our old patterns, it's just sometimes something that we do based on circumstances. Do you have certain things that you say to each other? It's like, hey, or hey, I'd like to have a conversation. And, is there anything that you
Yeah.
guys use?
Well, one is this is some of the stuff that we're going to start teaching a lot of couples. Is one of the things is understanding that men and women listen different. We don't listen the same way. So that's something different, to talk about. But here's what I can, an easy tool to start. And that's not easy. I'm going to tell you this tool. When we first tried it, I can't tell you how many times we stormed out the door. Didn't work. So don't expect it to be easy, because we have a lot of layers to move through. So it's letting the other person know that, hey, I have some things I'd like to talk about. One, when I approached him, I don't expect him to stop what he's doing, because men are very single focused, and if they have a task in mind, they're like, okay, and that's not that they're trying to be assholes. They really can't give you that focus because they've got the hunter mode. The deer's about to get away. I've got to complete this task. That's their mode. And so I let them know I have some things I've got to say. There's some things that have been bothering me. When's a good time? And that way he doesn't feel the pressure. And he's like, this is going to take me an hour and a half. Can I have an hour and a half, or is it more urgent? And we have that dynamic, right? And I'm like, no, this could wait for tonight even. I just need to make sure I can't go to bed with this another one. He's like, absolutely. And
like
so at that
and I
point,
think that goes both ways, because quite frankly, I mean, I'm not a dude, but I operate like that
too.
sometimes too.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I am focused on something and someone comes and is like, hey, we need to do something, like my brain cannot pivot from that most of the time. So I think that's just a great tool, generally speaking, because just because it's all up in my business, giving that person the grace to be like, hey, but I like what you said also is, I just don't want to go to bed with this. So if we could talk about it, that would be great. I really like that.
Yeah. And yeah, because women, we can go into, gather a hunter mode. And so, yes, it's, when we're on a task, we're masculine, which means, yes, we're
sometimes I hunt and gather, because we do it all.
We can, unlike, because men can do that too, but there's this slower, we can flip it real quick. And so once I do that, then I'm willing to drop it. I'm not going to be picking at him,
Because
agitating
you put
him.
a pin in it. It's almost like, okay,
Yes.
he heard me. We're going to come
Mm-hmm.
back to this. Now I can, it's
Correct.
for my menopause brain periodic is like, I have written it down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to get lost.
Correct.
Because there is if I don't say it, I'm going to forget. And, then it's 3 weeks later. But if you put a pin on it, both of you have talked about it. I think that's really great just to say, okay, I've scheduled it, so to speak.
Correct. So then once we're ready, we remove all distractions. It is so unkind when someone's going to say something that's already hard to have a phone, have something distracting you. One, that's not listening. So we remove all distractions. We go
Yeah, I
somewhere
like
we're
that.
not going to be bothered. Um,
You can't have a conversation. It's very difficult. You can, but it's very difficult to have a conversation if you're trying to do it and you've got, two young kids crawling over you, or you're trying to get, them ready for bed, or you're trying to finish up this last email. It doesn't work.
no, it doesn't. You're not really listening. Um, and you're allowing the noise of the world to disrupt this relationship, So,
But it shows, I think, sometimes as well that you can't take whatever that time is to be present. If that's a whole different thing. If you can't take the phone, even if it's, oh, the phone's on vibrate, but it's sitting there and it vibrates, our dopamine fix is going to go, what is it? What is it? What is it? So taking it and putting it away and saying, yes, I'm here. I'm present. Let's do this.
presence is huge. The full presence. If you're going to do this, if you want a good outcome, you need to offer your presence without distraction.
Yeah.
And then we typically sit in front of each other and we hold hands and we take a deep breath. And so if I'm going to say something to him, I literally like to do this like an umbrella or not like a little raincoat on him. And I literally go, put your raincoat on so that my words just slide right off like a raindrop. I don't want them to land on you. Please don't let my words land on you. I just need to be heard in this. I need to be seen in this. What's really wild is sometimes when we're just heard, game over. There's nothing he has to do. And so for the man is, I don't have to tell Tim this anymore, but for a lot of men at the beginning, you have to say, can you just listen? I don't want a solution. I don't need you to fix it. I will let you know if I need your help or I need you to fix it. Can you just hear me? That's it.
Yep. And I think we've talked about this before. You can do this with your friends too sometimes is ask, how do you want me to listen? Am I going to give you advice back? Am I just holding the trash? Do you need to, I like to say, I just need a word vomit on you. I need you to hold the trash. Are you looking for me to fix something? Like it's asking or telling them, this is how I'd like you to listen, I think is,
Fine.
yeah, that's, as I was going to say, as our good friend Laura likes to say, clear as kind. And it's so true. When you can give that person the role of how to listen, it's so
really
helpful.
nice, especially for
Gosh, it's
men.
so helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they want to go and do, how do I fix it for her? And so they're doing it from a good place, but it's
Yeah, they're not being
so
mean, but that's how they're wired.
correct. So if we can let them know, and then even as like at the beginning, I remember having to, when I see Tim's reaction as I'm talking to him, I said, you're letting it land on you. Let it go. Don't let it land on you. I'm like letting it. This is really not about you anymore. This is maybe something you did that affected me, but this is my emotion about that. Please don't let it land on you.
Mm-hmm.
So keep reminding him, don't let it land on you. So then that way he can hear me without his defenses coming up. or the other person, the defense is coming up. And at that point, when I feel complete, I was like, I feel pretty complete. And typically, what Tim will do now is just like, is there anything else? 'Cause it's almost like, when you're squeezing a lemon and you think you got it all, but it's like, but if you squeeze it again, you can get a little more. You know, he's like, and I love that he asked me that because it kind of makes me go, am I complete? Yes, I am. Or, oh, no, thank you. And yeah. And I would say 80% of the time, all I end up doing is crawling into his arms and crying. Or sometimes laughing, and
Or both. It's fine.
or both.
Make it a
And he didn't have to do a thing. And so when he even tells me with that, he's like, the stress of having that, oh, how am I going to fix this for her is not even there. So he's even able to just hear me, and then he may ask, is there anything I can do? Or there may be,
Mhm.
but it's us asking for what we need and somebody being willing to just not trying to go in with fix it energy.
I love that. I think those are really great tools that the listeners can walk away with and, see if they can implement. I think it's great. So, Laura, as we come to, before we close any of this, is there anything else we want to talk about today?
I think I feel pretty complete other than our
You feel pretty complete? That's weird how that works. Is there anything that you want to close with? Any type of thoughts or pulling ourselves back to each other that you'd like to share?
I'd like to have a little closing somatic practice for everyone.
Let's do that. I like that.
Okay. So I'm going to invite you guys, if you wish, to close your eyes and place your hand over your heart and bring to mind someone you love. Can you give yourself permission to notice where you feel the distance? Notice what happens to your body. What would it feel like to come closer? Not by fixing, not by solving, but by listening. No shouting, no force, just listen. What would it be like to offer someone that gift?
So good. All right. You want to take us out, Laura?
Thank you once again for joining us at Selah, a deep pause. We appreciate you coming and joining us.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye, y'all.
Thank you for pausing with me. May what you heard settle gently in your body and stir something true within you. If this episode spoke to your soul, please subscribe and share with someone else who might need this pause as well. Until next time, come as you are, take a deep breath, and stay for the stillness.